Her card declined. Twice. In front of everyone. Her 5-year-old son looked up at her and asked, "Mama, are we losing our nuggets?" She was 2 seconds from crying right there at register 4. And then a man in a janitor's uniform walked over, pulled out his wallet, and said 4 words she'll never forget. "I got it. All of it." The lights in SaveMart Grocery were way too bright. The kind of lighting that messes with your sense of time, that 9 p.m. starts to feel like the middle of the night. Aisle 7 was almost empty. The only sound was someone mopping, slow and steady, back and forth across the floor. Christopher Hayes pushed the mop bucket with the kind of focus most people reserve for important things. But for Christopher, this was important. Every streak removed, every spill cleaned, every floor shined. This was his work. This was his dignity. At 42 years old, Christopher had been cleaning floors for 18 years. He started when he was 24, right after community college didn't get him anywhere. Bills were piling up. He had to swallow his pride and take the job. He took the night shift at SaveMart in downtown Chicago because it paid $2 more per hour than the day's shift and because working when the store was nearly empty meant fewer people to see him. Fewer people to remember that Christopher Hayes had once been someone different. He wore the standard SaveMart uniform. Navy blue polo shirt with the logo stitched on the chest, khaki pants, non-slip shoes that had seen better days. His name tag read Chris because the manager said Christopher was too long for the template. Chris was fine. Chris was forgettable. That was the point. He moved through the store like a ghost, maintaining the row while the skeleton crew restocked shelves and the occasional late-night shopper wandered through. He knew every corner of this store. Every tile that cracked when you stepped on it. Every cooler that made too much noise. Every register that jammed on receipt paper. He knew the people, too. The regulars who came in late because that's when they got off work, or because they couldn't sleep again, or because life was just too noisy during the day. The single dad buying frozen dinners for the week. The nurse grabbing coffee before her overnight shift. The college kid loading up on instant noodles and energy drinks. Christopher didn't judge. He just cleaned around them, invisible, unnoticed, exactly how he wanted it. But tonight, everything changed. Because tonight, he noticed her. She came in at 9:17 p.m., pushing a cart with a bad front wheel that kept pulling to the left. Christopher heard it before he saw her. That same noisy, scraping sound from cart number 23, the one everyone tried to avoid, but she ended up with. She was in her early 30s, a black woman, tired in a way that looked deeper than just being worn out. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore light blue scrubs, the kind nurses or dental workers wear. The kind that meant she'd been on her feet all day, too. Behind her, holding onto the side of the cart, was a little boy. Maybe 5 years old. Big brown eyes, Spider-Man hoodie, light-up sneakers that blinked red with every step. "Mama, can we get the dinosaur nuggets?" the boy asked, his voice carrying across the quiet store. "Baby, we'll see," she said softly. "Let's get what we need first." They moved through the store slowly, her checking a list on her phone, him pointing at everything colorful, her gently redirecting him. Christopher watched from section 6, pretending to clean a spot that was already clean. He saw her pick up a box of cereal, check the price, put it back, choose the cheaper brand. Saw her do the same with bread, with pasta, with canned vegetables. Every choice calculated. Every dollar stretched. The boy kept asking questions. Cheerful, innocent, unaware of the weight his mother carried. "Why can't we get the good mac and cheese?" "Because the other kind tastes just as good, baby." "Can we get juice boxes?" "We have juice at home." "But these have Spider-Man on them." "Spider-Man juice tastes the same as regular juice, trust me." The boy pouted but didn't push. He'd learned that lesson already. Christopher's chest tightened. He recognized something in this woman's face. Something he'd seen in his own mirror for years. The look of someone doing everything right and still falling behind. They finished shopping. The cart was full but not overflowing. Necessities: chicken, rice, vegetables, milk, bread, peanut butter, the cheap kind of everything. One small concession at the bottom, a box of dinosaur nuggets, the ones her son had asked for. She headed to the checkout lanes. Only 2 were open this late. She chose lane 4, the one with the younger cashier who smiled at her son. Christopher was 3 aisles away, mopping near the pharmacy. He shouldn't have been watching. It wasn't his business. But something made him look. The cashier scanned the items one by one. Beep. 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 The total climbed. $87.34. The woman pulled out her wallet. Christopher saw her hand shake slightly as she pulled out a card. Navy blue card, worn at the edges. She handed it to the cashier. The cashier swiped it. Declined. Christopher saw the woman's face change. The small flicker of panic she tried to hide behind a smile. "Can you try it again?" she asked quietly. The cashier swiped it again. Declined. "I'm sorry, it's not going through." The woman's son looked up at her, confused. "Mama." "It's okay, baby. Mama's card is just being silly." She pulled out another card. This one was lighter, maybe a credit card. Christopher couldn't tell from the distance. The cashier swiped it. Declined. The line behind her was starting to grow. A man in a business suit checking his watch. A teenage girl on her phone. An elderly couple talking quietly to each other. The woman's hands were shaking harder now. I don't understand. I had enough. I checked this morning." The young cashier looked uncomfortable. "Maybe there's a hold on your account? Do you want me to call a manager?" No, that's okay." Her voice was breaking. Can you remove a few things?" "The chicken and the milk can." "And my dinosaur nuggets?" the boy asked, his voice small. The woman closed her eyes. "Yeah, baby. The nuggets too." Christopher didn't think. He just moved. He left the mop bucket in aisle 8, walked straight to register 4, and before anyone could say a word, he pulled out his own wallet. "I got it," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. The woman, the cashier, the people in line, the boy in the Spider-Man hoodie. The woman blinked. "What?" "I got it," Christopher repeated. He handed the cashier his card. "Run it for the full amount." "Sir, you don't have to." "I know. I want to." The woman stared at him. "I can't let you do that. That's almost $90. I know what it is." Christopher kept his voice steady, kind. "And I'm doing it anyway." "But why? You don't even know me." Christopher looked at her. Really looked. And what he saw wasn't a stranger. He saw someone fighting the same fight he'd fought. The fight to keep going when everything felt impossible. "You're right," he said. "I don't know you. But I know what it feels like to stand at a register and watch your card get declined. I know what it feels like to have to choose between feeding yourself and feeding your kid. And I know what it feels like when someone helps." The cashier swiped Christopher's card. Approved. The total zeroed out. The receipt printed. The woman stood there, frozen, tears running down her face. Not crying loudly. Just silent tears that she couldn't stop. "Thank you," she speaking softly. "Thank you so much." Christopher nodded. "You take care of that boy." He turned to walk away. But before he could leave, the boy ran up to him and wrapped his arms around Christopher's legs. "Thank you for saving our food," the boy said. Christopher's throat closed up. He bent down, eye level with the child. "You're welcome, little man. You take care of your mama, okay? She's doing her best." "I will." The woman came over, pulling her son gently back. She looked at Christopher with something he hadn't seen directed at him in years. Gratitude. Real, unfiltered, life-saving gratitude. "What's your name?" she asked. "Chris. I work here. Overnight cleaning. I'm Diana. This is Marcus. Nice to meet you both." Diana wiped her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you properly. This means more than you know. You don't have to thank me. Just keep being a good mom. That's thanks enough." She nodded, gathered her bags, took Marcus's hand, and walked toward the exit. She looked back once, her eyes meeting Christopher's across the store. Then she was gone. Christopher went back to his mop bucket. But something had shifted. The floor didn't feel as endless. The fluorescent lights didn't feel as harsh. For the first time in 18 years, Christopher Hayes felt like he'd done something that mattered. What Christopher didn't know was that Diana Coleman was about to change his life in ways he could never imagine. Because Diana wasn't just a struggling single mom. She was someone who remembered kindness. And she was someone who always paid her debts. 3 days passed. Christopher went back to his routine. Mopping floors, restocking supplies, cleaning up spills, invisible again. He thought about Diana and Marcus sometimes. Wondered if they were okay. Wondered if the groceries had lasted. Wondered if her card situation had gotten sorted out. But mostly, he tried not to think about it at all. Because thinking about it meant feeling something, and Christopher had spent 18 years building walls around his feelings. He came to work at 8:45 p.m. on Thursday, same as always. Clocked in, grabbed his mop bucket, started his route. At 10:30 p.m., the store manager, Dennis Parker, called him over the intercom. "Chris to the manager's office." "Chris to the manager's office." Christopher frowned. He'd been called to the office maybe 3 times in 18 years. Usually when there was paperwork to sign or when they needed someone to cover an extra shift. He left his mop bucket, walked to the back of the store, knocked on the office door. "Come in." Dennis was sitting at his desk, but he wasn't alone. Diana was there. Christopher froze in the doorway. She was wearing different clothes this time. Nice clothes, a cream-colored blouse, black slacks, professional but not too formal. Her hair was styled. She looked different. Put together in a way she hadn't 3 nights ago when she was too tired to even think straight. Marcus wasn't with her. "Chris, have a seat," Dennis said. Christopher sat slowly, confused, his eyes moving between Dennis and Diana. "Ms. Coleman came in today asking to speak with you," Dennis said. "She told me what you did on Monday night." Christopher's stomach dropped. Had he broken some kind of company policy? Was he in trouble for intervening in a customer transaction? "I'm sorry if I wasn't supposed to." "You're not in trouble," Diana said quickly. "Not at all." Dennis leaned back in his chair. "Actually, Ms. Coleman wanted to thank you properly. And after hearing her story, I wanted to thank you too. What you did was incredibly kind." Christopher relaxed slightly. "I was just helping someone who needed it." "It was more than that," Diana said. Her voice was steady now, not shaking like it had been at the register. "That night, I had just gotten off a double shift at the dental clinic where I work. Marcus and I had been living paycheck to paycheck for 3 years since his father left. And that morning, my bank account got hit with overdraft fees I didn't know were coming because of a payment I forgot cleared early. Suddenly I had $14 in my account instead of $120. She paused, collecting herself. I had no family nearby. No friends I could call without feeling ashamed. No backup plan. When those cards declined, I thought, this is it. This is the moment I fail my son. And then you showed up." Christopher felt choked up. "I went home that night and cried for an hour after Marcus fell asleep. Not because I was sad. Because for the first time in 3 years, someone had seen me. Really seen me. Not as a burden, not as someone to pity, but as someone worth helping. You didn't need to come back here to tell me that, Christopher said quietly. Yes, I did. Because I spent the last 3 days finding out who you are. Christopher's heart skipped. What? Diana pulled out her phone. I asked the cashier who you were. She said you've worked here for 18 years. Night shift cleaner. Quiet guy. Keeps to himself. Never misses a day. Never complains. I started digging. Why? Because a man who gives away $87 when he's working a cleaning job at a grocery store either has money to spare or has a heart bigger than most people could imagine. And I needed to know which one. Christopher didn't respond. Diana showed him her phone screen. It was a news article. Old. From 2006. The headline read, "Local teacher loses everything in medical bankruptcy." Christopher's blood ran cold. The photo showed a younger version of himself. Thinner, smiling, wearing a tie. The caption identified him as Christopher Hayes, a 5th grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary in Chicago. That's you, isn't it? Diana asked gently. Christopher looked away. That was a long time ago. The article says you had a wife who got sick. Cancer. You spent everything trying to save her. Medical bills over $400,000. You sold your house, cashed out your retirement, borrowed from family. And when she died, you were left with nothing but debt. Why are you doing this? Christopher's voice cracked. Because I need you to understand something, Diana said. You gave me $87. You didn't know it, but that money didn't just buy groceries. It bought Marcus breakfast before school. It bought him lunch I could pack. It bought him the feeling that his mama could take care of him. You gave me my dignity back. Tears were streaming down her face now. And I did research, Christopher. I know you're not rich. I know you work here because the debt ruined your credit and you couldn't get hired anywhere else. I know you send half your paycheck to pay off medical collections. I know you live in a studio apartment in Garfield Park that costs $650 a month. I know you take the bus to work because you don't own a car. Christopher stood up. I don't need you to feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for you. I feel grateful. And I feel like I need to return the favor. There's no favor to return. I helped because I wanted to. I know. And that's exactly why I'm doing this. Diana stood up too. She pulled an envelope from her purse and placed it on Dennis's desk. What's that? Christopher asked. Open it. Christopher hesitated. Then he picked up the envelope and opened it. Inside was a check. Made out to Christopher Hayes. For $50,000. Christopher's hand started shaking. What is this? It's a gift. From me to you. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. Where did you even get this kind of money? Diana smiled. I didn't tell you everything about myself. Yes, I'm a dental hygienist. But I'm also the daughter of Dr. David Coleman, who owns Coleman Dental Partners, the largest dental practice network in Illinois. He has 47 clinics across the state. Christopher's mind was spinning. My father has money. A lot of it. But I chose to work as a hygienist because I wanted to earn my own way. I wanted Marcus to see that money doesn't define you, character does. When I got pregnant and Marcus's father left, my father offered to support us. I said no. I needed to do it myself. Then why? Because you reminded me that asking for help isn't weakness. You reminded me that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let someone help you. So I called my father. I told him what you did. And he wrote that check without hesitation. Christopher stared at the check. $50,000. It was more money than he'd seen in 15 years. This could pay off my medical debt, he whispered. All of it, Diana confirmed. I did the math. You owe $43,000 in collections. This covers it with money left over. Why would you do this for me? Because you deserve it. Because you spent 18 years being invisible and kind and good when nobody was watching. And someone needs to watch. Someone needs to say, I see you, Christopher Hayes. And what you did mattered. Christopher's legs gave out. He sat back down, the check trembling in his hands, tears pouring down his face. Dennis stood up quietly and left the office, giving them privacy. Diana knelt beside Christopher's chair. You saved me. Now let me save you back. Christopher couldn't speak. He just nodded, sobbing, holding the check like it was made of light. That check changed everything. But not in the way most people would expect. Christopher paid off his medical debt. All $43,000. For the first time in 15 years, his credit report showed 0 collections. 0 debt. Clean slate. He had $7,000 left over. Most people would have kept it. Saved it. Used it for themselves. Christopher had a different idea. He went back to SaveMart on his next shift. Found Dennis in the office. I need to ask you something, Christopher said. What's up? How many employees here are living paycheck to paycheck? Dennis blinked, surprised by the question. I don't know the exact number. Most of them, probably. Retail wages aren't exactly generous. I want to start something. An employee emergency fund. For situations like what happened to Diana. When someone's car breaks down or their rent's due or their card declines at the register. Dennis leaned forward. You want to start a fund? With what money? I have $7,000. I want to put it all in. Chris, that's your money. You should keep it. I'm keeping it exactly where it needs to be. In the hands of people who need help. Dennis studied him for a long moment. You're serious? Completely. How would it work? Simple. Employees can apply when they need emergency help. No judgment, no paperwork, just a small amount to get them through. $50, $100, whatever they need. And when they're back on their feet, they can pay it back if they want. But no pressure. Dennis smiled. You're going to change lives, you know that. Someone changed mine. I'm just passing it on. The SaveMart Employee Emergency Fund launched 3 weeks later. Christopher's $7,000 seed money sat in an account Dennis helped him set up. Word spread quietly among the staff. The cashier whose car needed repairs. The stocker whose electricity was about to get shut off. The security guard whose daughter needed medicine. One by one, they came to Christopher. Quietly, nervously, ashamed. And one by one, Christopher helped them. No questions. No judgment. Just help. $50 here. $100 there. $200 when someone's rent was short. The fund didn't run out because people started paying it back. Not because they had to. Because they wanted to. Because Christopher had shown them that kindness could be a cycle, not a one-time event. Within 6 months, the fund had helped 23 employees. Diana came by the store once a week. Sometimes with Marcus, sometimes alone. She always stopped to talk to Christopher. They became friends. Real friends. She told him about her life. The father who loved her but smothered her with expectations. The ex-boyfriend who left when parenting got hard. The years of working double shifts to prove she didn't need anyone's money. He told her about his life. The wife he'd loved. The cancer that took her. The debt that buried him. The years of invisible work that kept him alive but not really living. Why didn't you remarry? Diana asked once. Because I was tired. Tired of losing. Tired of hurting. It was easier to be alone. Is it still easier? Christopher thought about it. No. Not anymore. 6 months after the grocery store encounter, Diana invited Christopher to dinner. Not at a restaurant. At her apartment. "Marcus wants to see you," she said. "He asks about the floor manner all the time." Christopher showed up at 6 p.m. with flowers. Not romantic flowers. Just a small bouquet because his mother had taught him you never show up to someone's home empty-handed. Diana's apartment was small but warm. Photos on the walls. Toys in the corner. The smell of something delicious cooking in the kitchen. Marcus ran to the door when Christopher knocked. "Mr. Chris. You came." Christopher knelt down. "Of course I came. You invited me." "Mama made spaghetti. The good kind, not the cheap kind." Diana laughed from the kitchen. "Marcus, we don't say that out loud." Christopher grinned. "The good kind is my favorite." They ate dinner together. Simple food, simple conversation, nothing fancy. But it felt like something Christopher hadn't felt in 18 years. It felt like family. After dinner, Marcus fell asleep on the couch mid-cartoon. Diana covered him with a blanket and joined Christopher on the small balcony overlooking the street. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Thank you for inviting me." "Christopher, I need to tell you something." "Okay." "I've been thinking about that night at SaveMart a lot. About what you said when you paid for my groceries." "What did I say?" "You said you know what it feels like to have to choose. And you said you know what it feels like when someone helps." "I've been thinking about that. About how you chose to help me even though you'd been in that exact position. Even though you know how hard it is to be where I was. It's because I know how hard it is that I had to help." "Exactly. And that's why I think you're the most extraordinary person I've ever met." Christopher shook his head. "I'm just a guy who mops floors." "No. You're the guy who turned pain into purpose. You lost everything and instead of becoming bitter, you became kind. You spent 18 years invisible and when you finally got a chance to be seen, you chose to help someone else be seen instead." Christopher didn't know what to say. Diana reached over and took his hand. "I don't know where this goes. I don't know if we're just friends or if this becomes something more. But I need you to know that meeting you changed my life. And I want you in it. However that looks." Christopher looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in 18 years, he let himself feel something other than grief. He felt hope. "I'd like that," he said quietly. 2 years later, Christopher Hayes stood in a very different place. He was still at SaveMart. Still cleaned floors. Still worked the night shift. But everything else had changed. The Employee Emergency Fund had grown. News of it spread beyond SaveMart. Other retail chains started their own versions. Christopher became a consultant, traveling to stores across Illinois teaching managers how to set up similar programs. He moved out of his studio apartment in Garfield Park. Not into somewhere fancy. Just into a small 2-bedroom in a better neighborhood. 1 bedroom for him. 1 for Marcus on the weekends when he stayed over. Because Diana and Christopher were together now. Not married yet. Not rushed. Just together in the way 2 people who've both survived storms understand each other. Marcus called him Mr. Chris still. Christopher was fine with that. He wasn't trying to replace the boy's father. He was just trying to be present. And Diana had gone back to school. Using some of her father's money now, without shame. She was getting her degree in social work because Christopher had shown her that helping people was the most important work there was. One evening, Christopher was mopping aisle 7. Same aisle where he'd been 2 years ago when he first saw Diana's cart with the wobbly wheel. A young woman came in. Late 20s, tired, 2 small children holding her hands. She was checking prices, putting things back, doing the math in her head. Christopher watched her. He saw himself 2 years ago. Saw Diana. Saw every person who'd ever stood at that line between making it and breaking. The woman headed to the register. Christopher followed at a distance. Her total came to $63.18. She pulled out her card. Christopher held his breath. The card went through. Approved. The woman's shoulders relaxed. She smiled at her kids. They loaded the bags into their cart and left. Christopher exhaled. Not every story ended with a card declined. Not every person needed saving. But he was ready if they did. He went back to mopping. And as he walked through the store he knew so well, Christopher thought about the last 2 years. About the check that saved him. About the fund that helped many people. About the woman who saw him when no one else did. About the boy who called him Mr. Chris and hugged his legs every time he walked through the door. Christopher Hayes had spent 18 years being invisible. And then one night, he chose to be seen. Not for himself. For someone else. And that choice changed everything. The lesson is simple. Kindness is never wasted. Even when you have nothing, you have the ability to see someone else's pain and say, I got it. That decision, that moment of choosing someone else's need over what was easier for you, that's what changes the world. Maybe you're Christopher. Working a job that doesn't define you, carrying a past that still hurts, wondering if your life matters. It does. Every day you show up matters. Every choice to be kind matters. Maybe you're Diana. Struggling alone, too proud to ask for help, trying to be strong for someone who depends on you. You don't have to do it alone. Accepting help isn't weakness. Sometimes the hardest thing you can do is let someone care. Whoever you are, remember this. The smallest act of kindness can be someone's turning point. The groceries you pay for. The door you hold. The smile you give. The hand you extend. You have no idea what that person is carrying. You have no idea how close they are to breaking. You have no idea that your small gesture might be the thing that keeps them going. So be Christopher. Be the person who sees. Be the person who helps. Be the person who chooses kindness when the world has given you every reason to be bitter. And if you're ever Diana, struggling at a register with a declined card and a child looking up at you, remember this. You are seen. You are valued. You are not alone. And somewhere in this world, there's a Christopher waiting to say, I got it. If this story moved you, hit subscribe right now. Share it with someone who needs to hear that small acts of kindness create massive ripples. Someone who needs to know that struggling doesn't mean failing. Someone who needs to remember that we're all connected by the moments we choose to care. Drop a comment telling me about a time someone helped you when you needed it most. Or a time you helped someone else. I read every single comment because your stories matter. This has been a story about seeing people. About kindness when it costs you something. About choosing to be the person who helps instead of the person who looks away. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And thank you for being the kind of person who believes the world can be better when we choose to make it better. Now go out there and be someone's Christopher. The world needs you.